Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is August 29th, and here we're looking at the infrared satellite imagery across the Pacific Ocean. There's Hawaii, Alaska, BC, Washington, Oregon, California. As you can see, the trough digging out over the Gulf of Alaska is going to help amplify this ridge across Pacific Northwest and really bring us some warm days for this week and possibly all the way through Friday, maybe even Saturday for a warm day. We'll take a look at what the models have to say about that. You can see some standing lenticular looks like. I don't know how visible they are across the higher terrain in British Columbia, but you can just kind of see them hanging out there. And you can see the gentle trade winds impacting the Hawaiian Islands there. Now taking a look at SeaTac yesterday, 1 degree above average, 77, and we're going to warm it up here through this the end of August here on into the beginning of September before we cool down a little bit this weekend. Shores of Lake Washington, 78 degrees, 1 degree warmer than SeaTac. And of course, we're going to warm that up before the cool down this weekend as well. Look at Medford, Oregon here, 92 degrees yesterday, 3 degrees above average. You're going to remain above average for the next several days across southwest Oregon there. Also dealing with some forest fire smoke. Taking a look at that now, the rum fire down there kicking out quite a bit of smoke. And you can see that activity, it's supposed to be worse at night, apparently. But you can see, for the most part, the Pacific Northwest, some scattered fires, but no big smoke storm like what we've had in years past. You guys know how bad it can get. Now, looking at here, this is something fun with the models. This is looking at northern hemispheres, Alaska, BC, Washington, Oregon, Hawaii, Pacific Ocean. We're looking at probability of 500 millibars above a certain height, which we would call a ridge. And as we go through the extended a little bit here, you can kind of see this happen across the southwest. Looking like a pretty good heat wave setting up across the southwest portion of the USA. Now, this is getting kind of perilously close to the Pacific Northwest, but we do have the Gulf of Alaska trough nearby, so we probably are not going to be dealing with an extreme heat wave or anything. We probably should be getting some onshore flow, but still should be some fairly nice days. But you can kind of see this interesting model right here. It gives a probability of a certain height in the atmosphere showing that ridge. And you can see this is a very substantial ridge, and that confidence in the heat wave through the southwest USA is pretty strong. As you can see, one of the only places in the world with a ridge that strong here. This would be through this weekend coming up. Now, this is also looking at the same thing here, but we lowered the heights a little bit here, so you're going to see more of these blobs appear. And as we go on into the extended forecast, you can kind of see how things get a little bit less clear here. And that ridge gets a little bit close to the Pacific Northwest, but again, we probably should have some onshore component to that. So not bringing an extreme heat wave to the Pacific Northwest, but the further east and south you go, the warmer you're going to get here, especially across the desert southwest down there. Now, taking a look here, this is probability of 850 millibar temperatures less equal to or less than 0 Celsius. So basically the freezing line at 5,000 feet. So we back that up. You can kind of see, of course, that exists over the North Pole. Just kind of an interesting thing we show in the models here, but you can kind of see this get a little bit more nebulous as you go out into the models. The probability, the uncertainty grows as the models go further away from the 0 hour here. So just kind of an interesting thing I'd like to show you guys. And this is another one just for fun here. Probability of total snowfall greater than or equal to 1 inch here. This is the GFS. So if I run this through here, you can see here over the next, what is this, the next 16 days here, the probability of getting 1 inch or greater of snowfall. You can see Greenland, of course, North Pole up there. And some of the higher terrain for Alaska and British Columbia here, Alberta, looking at a little bit of snowfall, maybe the North Cascades across the next 16 days, or at least the probability of it. I mean, if you look at that from the North Cascades, it's 10 to 20%, so it's still quite low, but it just kind of shows you the seasons are changing here, and just kind of some of the fun things that models can show you here. Now look in here, precipitable water. I wanted to show you guys this. So as we go through this coming week, you can kind of see a little bit of monsoon moisture moving up over the area, but it's the thunderstorm threat coming with this is mainly going to be higher terrain, and it's not very certain, not bringing much precipitation with it here. We're going through Wednesday evening at this point, and then you can kind of see that moisture kick off a bit as the next system starts to approach us here out over the Pacific Ocean there. We'll take a look at that more here in a moment. But here's precipitation, 6 hour and mean sea level pressure overlaid on this as well. As we go through Monday, you can see that western BC up towards the Queen Charlotte Islands there, that precipitation exists up towards southeast Alaska. But for the most part, much Pacific Northwest, no precipitation, where there might be a little bit of an exception here Wednesday afternoon. If you look closely, you see a little bit of a signal across the Washington Cascades and eastern British Columbia, maybe the the Cascades of British Columbia as well as we go through Wednesday afternoon. This could be in the form of thunderstorms here. And you can see our next system here hanging off the coastline, not very strong at all. And as we get closer, you can kind of see it bring a little bit of precipitation as we go through Saturday here on the yesterday afternoon's European run. So we'll watch that system here. It is a very weak system, but the takeaway from that is it would put an end to the mini heat wave we're getting around here. Now taking a look here, lightning flash density potential. I'll speed ahead towards Wednesday here. That's when the next threat really shows itself as a little bit of this monsoon moisture gets up over the region. Maybe some lightning strikes over the Cascades and for the higher terrain of British Columbia, Vancouver Island. We'll see how that works out. We'll monitor it and see if that trends up or down here in the next model runs. Now taking a look here, this is the European 850 millibar temperature anomaly. So this is 5,000 feet. The temperature anomaly, you can see it's unusually chilly over the Pacific, and here over the Aleutians unusually warm. And here we go, we're starting to build the heat across the Pacific Northwest here as we go on into Wednesday afternoon. Here we're Thursday, Friday, another warm day before we potentially cool down as we go towards Saturday and Sunday, and then start to rebuild the warmth a little bit as we go into the future there, but not quite as warm. But as you can see, portions east and south are going to be warmer with the ridge positioning down here across the southwest USA. But we've got to watch. This trough is fairly close across the Gulf of Alaska, and it's likely to give some onshore component for Western Oregon, Washington, and British Columbia here on in through next week. But that can change. We'll continue to watch that. This is the GFS ensemble mean 850 millibar temperature. So this is 5,000 feet temperature anomaly. Here we go, building the heat this week. There's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, another pretty warm day, or Thursday, another warm day across the region, even Friday, another warm day before we start to cool ourselves down a bit here. Mainly western portions, but you can see eastern Oregon, especially southern parts, stay fairly warm here. Then we cool down a bit through the weekend, and the GFS mean here kind of keeps this troughing. You know, we got the Pacific Ocean high out here, and we got to get this onshore flow across the region. You can see Oregon south above average, and generally Washington kind of average, BC below. So we're right on a fine line here. This extended forecast is probably going to be tricky for the next few days on how much we're going to warm up the following week. So heat is coming, cool down this weekend. Those are the things to concentrate on right now. Checking this out. This is 500 millibar heights, 18,000 feet, GFS ensemble mean. You can see the ridge build for our heat. Just kind of giving you guys one more look at it here. Then the potential for the cool down this weekend, and then maybe building a ridge back up. You can see the Gulf is here, some zonal flow, probably some onshore component. If this verifies here, but you can see that strong ridge across the desert southwest, bringing a pretty significant heat wave to portions of California and Nevada down there. And as we go on into the extended here, you can kind of see that zonal flow. So confidence is low once we get past the cool down this weekend here, but it looks like we may bounce back in the temperatures a little bit, but possibly not. Now looking at Portland, yesterday afternoon's European run here, you can see we're warming up pretty well this week, maybe even getting towards 100 degrees on Tuesday. Check that out. Then the cool down comes this weekend, shows a little bit of a bounce back there on Sunday. I'm not sure what that is. I think this will probably work itself out a bit more. And then a little bit more seasonable, but still fairly warm going in through next week here on yesterday's run on the European. Now looking at Seattle, Tacoma, this one kind of shows the heat there, upper 80s, potentially all the way through Thursday, maybe mid on Friday. And then we cool down a bit here, and then you can see more seasonable temperatures through the extended. So the forecast confidence is low going on into next week, but the heat is coming, and the potential cool down this weekend is most likely coming as well. And this is for Medford, Oregon here. You can see the heat coming up here, folks, and then the general cool down possibly. This is probably just model uncertainty as we get through the extended here, though. This is for Quileute. If you like temperatures or high temperatures in the 60s and lows in the 50s overnight, you should buy a place out in Quileute, or, you know, go live out there. I mean, check this out. Just very consistent temperatures all the way through as far as the eye can see. Here's Pendleton, Oregon. Here you see the warm up this week, and then the cool down this weekend, and then generally cooler as we go through the extended. But we'll check out that forecast as we get closer to it. Here's the Tri-Cities, possibly flirting with 100-degree readings here through Friday, and then the cool down coming this weekend as well. Stampede Pass, I wanted to show a mountain site here. You can see that cool down coming on through Saturday, and then but still pretty warm here on into next week, but we'll watch that one. But you can see the heat here all the way through Friday, even impacting areas well up into the Cascades. This is Seattle Tacoma. Check this out. This is yesterday afternoon's European run. You can see the uncertainty as we get through Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. The mean has us somewhere in the mid 80s. Check out the control run for Friday. Actually had us into the low 90s for CTAC. And you can see some of the variability here for Friday. As you can see, it's a possible cooler temperatures. It may be down even towards the 80-degree mark versus the mid and upper 80s here. But then you see the cool down coming on through Saturday, and then the great uncertainty as we go through the extended here. You can see the control and the mean disagree in a lot of areas. And some of these ensemble runs are pretty dramatic here. So we'll just have to watch out. The confidence, again, like I've said a couple times before, is pretty low in the extended. And here's Seattle Tacoma 24-hour precipitation. As you can see this weekend, as we go through Saturday morning, there's a chance for some precipitation with that weak system moving into the area here. And if you'll notice, there's no precipitation signal really with that monsoon moisture coming up over the area. That would be just for the mountains and just scant amounts even then on Wednesday with that thunderstorm potential across the higher terrain. Now, looking at La Niña, there's a new forecast out this morning. And as you can see, it looks like, January, February, and by March, we start to come out of it. But that's pretty much the whole winter in La Niña conditions. So I'm kind of leaning that way, that I think we're going to spend a lot of this winter here coming up into La Niña conditions. We're not going to get into forecasting this yet. We got plenty of time to look at that. And but yeah, it looks like we may spend most of the winter here in La Niña conditions here coming up. So just a sneak peek at that. They will have another discussion out here in the next couple of weeks. It was updated last August 11th, so it should be reissued here in the next couple of weeks as they do this the September forecast discussion. And happy anniversary, the 7th year anniversary to the great August 29th windstorm. Check out this parent trough of the Gulf of Alaska. You can see our windstorm developing here southwest of Oregon here, and then move up the coastline here, and really brought a big blow here across the region. Hit a lot of areas with 50+ mile per hour gusts. And as you know, during August, a lot of leaves, actually all trees have their leaves really at this time of year. So it caused some pretty extensive tree damage, a lot of power outages. Pretty significant windstorm, especially for August. It's the greatest August windstorm that I've heard of, actually going back through the records. And as we look here, you can see the big trough for that too. I just wanted to kind of show you this. This is 500 millibars, 18,000 feet. You can see the big trough position here. Pretty unusual for August, as you can see. And anyway, on this note, I am working on the windstorm video here. It may do more. I may do more than one video here because I have about 27 storms I want to talk about here. This goes from 1950 to 2022, including last year. And of course, we're going to talk about the really big storms that have impacted the Pacific Northwest here during the last 72 years. I might even talk about a couple that were prior to 1950, but I don't know if they'll make the comparison or not. But as I do this, I may do individual videos for individual windstorms. Some of these windstorms have been so brutal and so intense that it might be worth doing individual videos on these windstorms. So I'll probably do a countdown from the least impactful, and we'll compare them all at once, and we'll kind of go through, like fatalities and damage totals and wind speeds, and we'll look at all the weather maps, and we'll look at where these storms originated and how they impact the Pacific Northwest. So that's coming up here in the next few weeks. I am going in for a kidney stone surgery today, and so wish me the best on that. Kidney stones are not fun, and I have to take a couple days off work probably to recover from that here coming up. But hopefully I can get back to work there on Thursday. And yeah, so wish me luck there. And hopefully you guys are liking these videos. Enjoy this heat coming up through Friday. And this could be the last big heat wave of the year. Doesn't mean that it is, but we're getting to the point where the days get shorter and the sun gets less strong. And these, the jet stream likes to make its way south this time of year at times, and then eventually starts to take over our weather, as you know, as we go into October, November. So we're running out of time here for big warm days. So enjoy this week here coming up. It could be the last very warm week of the year. There is some potential for some heat the following week, but the forecast confidence is low there also. But we should get a cool down this weekend. So anyway, hope you guys are liking these videos. Click like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys possibly tomorrow, maybe the next day.